It started out with a GIF, and then there were two. Lindsay Whalen secures two new commits coming in these next couple seasons, and you're going to want to find out more about these commits coming up today.
Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Golden Gophers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Kane Rob, former football video coordinator at the college football level, as well as a recruiting assistant. Now here talking Gophers with you each and every day of the week. Make sure you head on over to YouTube, hit subscribe on the podcast. We're growing the community over there. And let me know what players you want on the podcast coming up this month of June. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to try to make the magic happen. But I need to know who you want to hear from. So drop those in the comments below. And be sure to tune in to Locked On Golden Gophers podcast wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you tune into, be sure to follow there and leave a 5-star review. Now, this episode is coming out a little later than normal. Hopefully the rest of the week should be normal for me, but bear with me, folks. It's wedding week for me. I'm getting married this weekend, so lots of things on the table. That being said, I want to prep you ahead of time and let you know that next week on Monday, we will not have an episode. I think you guys can assume why. I mean, coming off of a wedding, so I'm going to take a second to wind down, and then we'll jump back into it. So Monday next week, we won't have an episode, but we should be rolling the rest of this week. Now, thank you so much for making Locked On Gophers your first listen. Today, we are talking women's basketball all day. We've got some breaking news, especially on new commits and new transfer commits entering the program. Lindsay Whalen does it again. She's getting people on board. Now, let's see if these commits will be the right fit. But let's talk about those commits. And first, we're going to talk about a commit that is a little further out, which is our first official 2023 commit, Kennedy Klick. She's from Maple Grove. And she's the first 2023 commit to the women's Gophers basketball program. Now, things I noticed right away when checking out her tape is that she's a tenacious defender, absolutely grinder on the defensive end of the court, which you love to see. And it seems like that's the building trend with the Gophers women's basketball program. Now, on top of that, she's good in the transition game and really good at spacing the floor, running in transition, and getting the easy, quick baskets. So hopefully that is a message to come on what we're trying to build here in Minnesota, is a team that can run the floor and play hard-nosed defense. I love that type of basketball, high-paced, high-energy, in transition offense. Hopefully that's what we're building. It seems like that's what we're building towards, and you love to see it. Now, like I said, she's good in the transition game, tenacious defender, but let's talk about her in high school right now. In her junior year, she was an all-around type player. Against Irondale, she had 13 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal. So she was doing it all for the team, for the Crimson out there in Maple Grove. Shows a lot of potential. She's a guard. And the thing that, like I said, tenacious defender, what stood out is that she really grinds on defense. She had 2+ steals last season versus Blaine, versus Anoka, versus Andover, versus Coon Rapids. She had 3. Versus Shakopee, she had 4. So she's out there just ripping the ball from other players. She's a dog. She's a grinder. She's gonna play hard-nosed defense. And you love to see that. You love to have that mindset, that attitude in someone that can not only play heavy defense, but then run the floor and get in transition. It's the perfect complement on both sides of the floor. Now, what does she bring to the team? Well, she's not going to be joining the team till 2023. As I had mentioned, she's our first commit of that class, but she brings guard depth in a year from now. So she brings us more depth. she brings that defensive presence and another in-state top player staying home for the program. So it seems like we're really building a good pipeline here at home in Minnesota. Now, her immediate role will probably be pending depending on how this class of 2022, which is our highest ranked class ever in women's basketball. It's our highest ranked program, and they're coming in this year. It'll really depend on how those 4 players pan out, hit the floor, how many minutes they're playing, how they're contributing. How their success this season likely depends on what we will push for Kennedy Klick to contribute when she comes on campus. Now, I imagine that she'll likely be a rotational player when she first gets to the program, maybe develop a year or two, but I think she could play in the rotation right away and be an energy player from year one, something that sparks the team off the bench, someone that emphasizes the defensive side of the floor and then helps the transition game. And you can never have too many people that know their role, play their role to the utmost ability. So she's a great piece. She doesn't need to be a star, especially early. And so I'm really looking forward to what she'll bring to this team and to this program. Now, next we're going to talk about a player that is going to be coming this upcoming season, transferring to us here in Dinkytown. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Built Bar. See, Built Bar is that protein bar that just packs a punch. It tastes delicious, but it gets you your fill of protein. It makes you, if you're just looking for a snack to tide you over, this is the perfect fill with 17 to 19 grams of protein in order to satisfy your hunger and tide you over. But if you're looking for something to help you recover from a workout, to build on your gains, that protein pack, it's just the amount of protein that is in this bar is perfect. It's perfect, and it's the perfect complement for after a workout. I take one every day after my workout, and it tastes good. That's the best part about these Built Bars is they make sure they taste good, and then they make sure they're good for you. Now, right now, my go-to is cherry barcia and peanut butter brownie. Those are my top 2. I used to be heavy on the mint brownie. That one tastes exactly like a Thin Mint cookie, so they got flavors for every palate. So if you are more of a sweet person, they got you covered. If you like the chocolate with fruit, they got you covered. But in fact, the Built Bar is covered in 100% real chocolate, each and every one of them. And they also have a new line called the Puffs, in which is chocolate covered marshmallow. That's right, chocolate covered marshmallow. They make it good for you. It tastes good. And the 2 newest flavors are the birthday cake puffs and the brownie batter puffs, which are back again. So be sure to head on over to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. Again, go over to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order at built.com. Now, thank you once again for making Locked On Golden Gophers your first listen. See here, folks, we're talking about Gopher sport. We're talking about women's basketball, men's basketball, football, hockey, both men's and women's. And you know what? I would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to the Gophers softball team, which made it into the NCAA tournament this past weekend, won their first game, and had a lead for most of the second game against Texas A&M. Alas, they did fall in the elimination game to Texas A&M in their region. The Gophers softball team had a great season, and we look forward for what more is to come from that team in future years. But shout out to the Gophers softball team and their successful year. Although it didn't finish the way that they had hoped for, it still was a great year for the Gophers. Now let's jump into our newest addition on the women's basketball team, and that is none other than Aminata Zie. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, let me know. I mean, I've dealt with name mispronunciation throughout my entire life, so I'm trying to do what I can to make sure that I get it right. But Aminata is a great addition for the Gophers. She's a great get, in my opinion, who we haven't had a true scorer added to our roster as far as a veteran presence, and I think that is exactly what she brings to the Gophers program. Now, she's coming from a lower level program. She is coming from the junior college level. She initially started out at Stony Brook College, didn't really get the minutes or opportunities she was looking for, and went to the junior college route at Western Nebraska Community College. But when she was there, she popped off. When given the opportunity, she popped off, and she was able to now make the jump to a Power 5 school. So from Stony Brook to community college to Power 5. It's a great jump. It's a great progression, but she proved that she has the talent. So although she's coming from a lower level program, she should transition really nicely to this Gophers program. She has great height. She's 6'2", plays the forward position. She's powerful, and you can see that right away from her tape this past season. Now, like I said, she comes from junior college, Western Nebraska Community College, but she was extremely efficient at that level. And I mean extremely efficient. She led the entire NJCCAA in field goal percentage last season. Last season, she shot 67.9% from the floor. That's right, almost 70% from the floor. And she was averaging 18 minutes a game. So it's not like she was only putting up 2 shots and hitting those, and then all of a sudden she's at 70%. No, she was playing good, heavy minutes at that level, and she had shot 67.9% from the floor. She averaged 9.2 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game on nearly 20 minutes. Like I said, 18 minutes per game. Now, her team reached the Final Four of the NJCCA, so she heavily contributed on a winning program at that level. And her highest score, her highest points contributed, was 22 points in the game. So she has the ability to be a high scorer on any given night, to contribute at the highest level and a lot on the scoring front. But not only that, she also had a game high of 19 rebounds in one game. So she gets it done on the glass, in the paint, and she'll be a much needed contributor for the Gophers program. In fact, we'll talk about what I think her role is for this team for this year in a little bit. But before we get there, like I said, 22 points as a game high, 19 rebounds as a game high, and she also had 4 blocks in one game. I'm telling you, everything we're seeing from these Gophers additions, whether it be from the transfer portal with Nicole and Destiny Olberg and now Aminata, or our recruits coming in with Braun and Amaya Battle and Nehemiah Holloway and Mallory Heyer, they're all contributing on the defensive end significantly. And then you got Alana Rose, who also contributed on the Gophers program defensively as well. I'm telling you, folks, I think this team could be a defensive stalwart. Maybe not right away, maybe not immediately. It's going to take some time to build this thing, to grow this thing, especially with the youth that really runs this roster. But I think that this could be a top defending team within 2 years. 2 years, and this could be one of the better defending teams in the nation. Now, how will we score? That's yet to be determined. But again, we have a massively high recruiting class coming in with tons of defensive presence. I'm excited. But back to Aminata, I just wanted to talk about a couple of the things that really stood out when I was watching her tape. Like I said, she's powerful. She can bully on the inside, but also she has great footwork. She can work in the post. She can hit the spin. She can post up. She can drop step. I mean, her footwork was clean. It was really clean. It was efficient. And I think that's what contributed to her scoring efforts, but also her efforts on the boards and being able to rebound and position herself in a way to get the rebound. So if that footwork stays pristine, she will be a threat. At least she'll be a player that transitions well to the Power 5 level. Power 5 being football, but you get what I'm saying, a major conference level. And then lastly, like I said, she has a great defensive presence and an inside defensive presence. Her and Destiny Oberg on the inside, both of them can clean up, they can block, and I eventually think Nehemiah Holloway will also be someone that can be a huge presence on the interior defensive side of ball. So I'm excited. I think she's going to be a great addition. I'm excited for her to join, and we're going to talk about where I think she could contribute immediately starting next season, how I think that roster and lineup is going to play out. But first, we got to talk about the ultimate thing that no one likes to talk about, and that is car troubles. Now, car troubles happen to everyone, and it's dreaded. I mean, with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure the pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning that comes from your auto parts or auto body stores? And while you wait, the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand in their warehouse, which just happens to be one of the most expensive. Why go through that? Why do all that when we have computers and we have access all over with our phones and mobile devices to go to rockauto.com? Now, why go to rockauto.com? It's because you can save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for every customer, and they have everything you need from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go over to their website and explore today. Find the solution for your auto parts needs. While you're over there, go over to rockauto.com and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. They have amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts you will ever need for your car or truck at rockauto.com. Now, we're closing the show, like I said, with how I believe the Gophers women's program will shape out. And we're going to find more news. I could be wrong here, but just with the initial glance of their 10-person roster right now, this is how I think the new additions will shake out and affect the Gophers in this upcoming season. Now, Mara Braun, who was our top recruit coming into this next year's class, I believe she's going to start at the point guard position, but I think that we could have a dual point guard effort where either guard can bring the ball up the court and there's no worries. Either can get the offense fluid, in motion, and starting. So I believe Braun and Amaya Battle will both consecutively run the 1 and the 2 positions. That's right, 2 true freshmen. I believe they're going to possibly be starting for us right away. Now, Katie Borowicz could also sneak into that starting position, but honestly, I believe Amaya Battle and Mara Braun have the talent to immediately jump in, kind of absorb the offense early, and really get things started. So I gut feeling Mara Braun, Amaya Battle running the 2 guard positions from the jump in combination with each other, both of them being able to bring it up and run the offense, both of them being able to score, both of them being a defensive threat. I think it's going to be fluid and it's going to be seamless, and it's really exciting. And they're both supportive of each other. Amaya Battle being this year's Miss Minnesota basketball, and you know what? Mara Braun was a finalist in that as well. And when she found out that Amaya Battle got it, she celebrated with her. They're already teammates off the floor playing for opposing schools, competing for the same awards, but they support each other. And I think that type of chemistry, that type of teamwork, it's going to show on the floor, and they're going to find success together. So it's exciting, and they're both true freshmen. I think they're both true freshmen that will contribute right away. Now, at the 3 position, I got another true freshman for you. Now, I could be completely wrong, but with 4 true freshmen coming in, and they are our highest rated recruiting class ever. Ever in the women's program history. This is our highest recruit ranking class. So, I mean, that plus all of the departures we saw in the transfer portal, they're going to be expected to contribute right away, especially if they can pick it up. But they're going to be expected to make mistakes and grow and learn. So I have 3 true freshmen starting next season with Mallory Heyer playing the 3. She's a great scorer. She averaged 17 points a game in high school. She can get the rebounds. I believe she was near 7 rebounds a game in high school. And she contributes on the defensive side of ball. So Mallory Heyer is who I believe will start at the 3 position. And then you talk about the bigs. Who's going to play the post presence? Who's going to be the forwards positions? Now, I think it's more of like a 3 forwards lineup, although you could call Alana Rose a center. So those final 2 pieces, I believe, is Aminata Zie, who we just talked about, starting at the 4, the transfer coming in right away, and then Alana Rose Michaud starting at the 5. So that means 1 returning member starting in the Gophers lineup next season. Now, I could be wrong. Could be 2, it could be 3. But it can't be more than 3 because that's all we have returning to the program, which is why it wouldn't be surprising if we have up to 4 new starters for the Gophers lineup. Well, up to 5 new starters. Alana Rose did start some games, but she wasn't our consistent starter last season. So up to 5 new consistent full-time starters. But Alana Rose would be the only returning member I have starting. She can do it all. She's a great post presence. She can hit the outside shot if needed. Maybe not with consistency that we want, but she can do it all. She cleans up on the glass. She's shown tons of flashes in potential. So I think that if I lock any of these players into the starting lineup, it would be Alana Rose. Now, like I said, Aminata Zie, I believe she'll start right away. I think that what she showed at the level and the NJCAA was that she can score, she can rebound, and that she's efficient. And that efficiency is going to be key. Also, she has college basketball experience. She knows what it's like to be on a team at Stony Brook and then at the Western Nebraska Community College and now coming here. Now, yes, this is a higher level program, but ball is ball, especially at the college level. And I think that she'll bring much needed leadership to our program and help guide those younger recruits. So Aminata Zie and Alana Rose closing out the starting lineup for me. I got Mara Braun, Amaya Battle, Mallory Heyer, Aminata Zie, and Alana Rose as the starting 5. Now the next 2 categories I broke down as rotation and developing. So in the rotation, I have a 3-person rotation right now, rotating on the floor with those 5. Now I could be wrong. We could see all 10 of these girls getting consistent minutes each and every night, but I'm not sure if that is the case. So I have a 3-person rotation, essentially 8-person rotational lineup for the year with 2 developing that could see time here and there. In that rotation, the first one I have is Katie Borowich. Now, she was a top-ranked recruit for her class. She's coming back from an injury. She's one of the only 3 returning players coming back with Alana Rose, and she's been working all offseason. They're consistently posting about all 3 of those returners getting work in now from the jump since April, putting in work together. They haven't had a full team to run it together, but those coaches know how to develop and push the girls. And so those 3, they could see tons of potential gains in this offseason. Katie Borich could start. That wouldn't surprise me. She was one of the better point guard recruits in the class of 2020 or 2021. So she's got the talent. She could start. And you could see Mara Braun or Amaya Battle come off the bench. It all depends on how they show up and how they develop and grasp the offense and the defense and the system this offseason. And Katie Borowich honestly has a head start, having been in the program and been through the meetings and been through the process. So she could definitely start. And 100% whether she's starting or not, she will be heavily involved in the rotation, bouncing back from injury. So without a doubt, she'll be in the lineup in the rotation, getting minutes and contributing to this Gophers program. And then my final two rotational players are Destiny Oberg and McCole Caton, who are both transfers coming in. McCole Caton, I anticipate, will be a high energy, high presence off of the bench that sparks the team consistently, brings the veteran leadership that this team absolutely needs, and will likely be a huge leader on the floor. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Alana Rose and McCole Caton were two captains on this program's team. We'll see if that's right. We'll see if I predict that right. But I think she's going to be a key player on and off the court for the team and will be in the rotation. And then Destiny Oberg, I think this program will give her the most opportunity to really thrive and show the potential that she didn't get to fully realize at Arkansas. She got to in flashes when they gave her minutes, and I think she'll see more consistent minutes, being the first big off the bench. Likely she'll work with Alana Rose on and off. And you know what? If Aminata Zie needs more time to kind of step up to that higher level, you could see Alana Rose and Destiny Oberg playing next to each other. That's potential too. But I think she will get significant minutes, and I think that's why she wanted to come home, is not only to be closer, but to get that opportunity. And I think Coach Whalen possibly has promised more opportunity. So that's my 8-person rotation. The 3 coming off the bench is Katie Borowicz, Destiny Oberg, and McCole Caton. Now, that means 2 developing players. I think Maggie Zinano, she'll have moments where she gets to into the lineup and gets to play and gets to thrive. But I do think it's still going to take more time to get more consistent minutes. And then Nehemiah Holloway, I think she is a great player, fantastic player, gets it done on both ends of the floor, especially on the defensive end of the floor. But I don't think you have to rush her, especially having Alana Rose, having Destiny Oberg, and having Aminata Zie. So a lot of our veteran presence is in that big position, the forward center role that Nehemiah Holloway would play. So you can let her develop at her pace and not rush it. That's how I think it wraps up for the Gophers women basketball. Tons of Gophers women talk today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you appreciate it. Women's basketball is on the rise, and rightfully so. So get with the trends and get with the times early, because this program is going to be special. The W is continuing to grow, and it's great. It's great for the sport. It's great all around. I'm excited for it. And this Gophers team, they're developing, they're building, and they're getting ready to grow. It's going to be a growing year. It's going to have its ups, have its downs. Hopefully the highs are bigger than the lows, but I'm excited to see what they put forward on the court this year. That's going to do it for us here at the Locked On Golden Gophers podcast. Please be sure to subscribe down below on YouTube, and have a great rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.